We are going to switch for the presentation to Spanish, but of course the presentation will be in English. Tenemos el placer de contar con Nathalie, Blanc y Sara Bortolamiol. Nathalie es la directora de investigación del CNRS en Francia, en París, y es directora también del Centro de Política de la Tierra. Y Sara es geógrafa y trabaja como investigadora en el CNRS también, con Nathalie. Nos van a explicar su enfoque, ¿no?, para el estudio de las intervenciones de renaturalización de entornos escolares desde la perspectiva de conservación de la biodiversidad. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm very sorry because we don't speak Spanish at all. And we don't speak Catalan, no. So, and I was not able to listen to all your talks because obviously we don't speak Spanish. So what we're going to do is to present our methodology inside schools. So I will be brief because Isabel told me that we have only 15 minutes, but I want to underline the fact that we're working on biodiversity issues. And biodiversity issues, it's not just green spaces. It's more than green spaces. It's living beings being connected together. So we're trying to see how much this biodiversity in schoolyards is functional, meaning how it works. And this is very important because many initiatives in green cities nowadays are treating green spaces as dead things, I would say. I mean, most cities don't know how to include living beings in cities. And not only insects, not only plants, but everything being connected together. So this was one thing. So there are many initiatives nowadays with green cities. You have heard of them, we discussed of it. As I told you just earlier on, this initiative don't include biodiversity, they include greens, meaning whatever they mean by that. And especially they don't include a reflection on green connectivity, biodiversity connectivity, and the links to more surrounding biodiversity, meaning how it contributes to biodiversity at the regional scale. So this schema, this image is not, is a bit blurry, as you can see, but this is a very important thing. Biodiversity, I don't know how many of you know how to define biodiversity. It's 3 levels of our organization of living beings, meaning ecosystem, species, and genes. And these 3 levels of organization have intra-connection in between them, meaning if you disrupt one level, you will disrupt all 3 levels, and you don't know how it goes. It goes in all ways, you know. And so most people, when they talk about green spaces and levels of biodiversity, they just think of a list of species. And it's not a list of species, it's a functional biodiversity we're going to study. So, next. So this, when we studied first, because we have been working on OASIS school, green vegetalized schoolyards in Paris since a long time now. So that's why we're involved in this project. And when we studied that, we found, and we were quite surprised about it, that what the City Hall of Paris was thinking when they were thinking about OASIS was mostly that greening school was good for adaptation to climate change because it was like cooling schools. It was also good for rainwater management. It could be good for education. We will discuss about it later on. But they never thought that it could be good for biodiversity as a functional thing. So yes, it is small. yes, it is some species, but nonetheless, it's very surprising that when you discuss of green spaces in cities, you don't discuss biodiversity issues. I still think that. So next, this is different schoolyards in Paris. I mean, Cédissia about about means in English, is today here, and she will present the OASIS school later on, so you can ask her. She was part of this program of greening schools earlier on. So, and this is the different steps of this OASIS schoolyard program from 2018 until now. From 3 courtyards until now we like around 75, and it's going to be further down, so I think we'll reach 100 this year, and the final aim is 600 schoolyards in the city of Paris. So you can see different pictures about it, before, after, more greens, different, soils and things like that. But Cédissia will talk about it. Another one you can see, different images. Perhaps you will use them. We can show it.
This one, because there is different, this schoolyard has been, it's 2 different schools that are together. But this one has been done and this one has not been done. To highlight a bit of the biodiversity is not the same, does not circulate the same.
One thing we have to say that we'll meet next year in Paris, so you will have the opportunity to visit some of these schools. So. Okay, so this is, we have already done an assessment of the schoolyards and how it goes in terms of the involvement of children, parents and teachers in the project, and it's kind of hard because they're not very well paid, they don't want to be involved in more projects and such. I mean, it's not easy going. There is a vegetation maintenance problem because everybody leaves the school by summertime, and so nobody takes care of the plants. And sometimes people of the city hall do plant by summertime, and there is nobody just to take care of the plants, so everything dies and the investment is being lost. There is no reflection on biodiversity, no on ecological continuities, and there is a low proportion of vegetated areas in schools. So, next. Okay, this is, we have both Sarah and I and other students, we teach in a master class, and since 2018, I think, we engage with the City Hall to study these schools. So we have done a little research about it with the whole master class, and we work mainly on what we call small beast, because it's a good indicator of the biodiversity issues, the small fauna. It's easy in French to talk with children about petite bête, small beast, because they relate to something. And it involves, we'll show it afterwards, all kind of arthropod, mollusks, snails, as you can see, worms and arachnids and different kind of species. So, and it's very interesting to see, for us to see what they recognize, what they take into their hands, what they're able to distinguish in between the different animals. So, this is a school, as you can see. And we have done all kind of inventories, what we call a Japanese umbrella. This you just beat a tree a bit, just so that the small beasts fall into the Japanese umbrella. Then you count them, and you see what kind of species are there, and what does it say about what biodiversity is in this school. Next. So we have done also some work about connectivity and potential corridor. We're not doing it in the same spirit than Francesc earlier on, because what we're trying to see is how connectivity do play a role in biodiversity. For example, if you take a green space nearby a school and you see if there is the same biodiversity in the school in the green space, in order to see how biodiversity circulates in between these different spaces in the city. Meaning, are there sufficient connectivity to allow the surrounding spaces to propagate inside the city? Next. And this is the Cool Schools project, so I will let the floor to my dear colleague.
Thank you, Nathalie. So now we're going to move on from what we have done to what we are going to be doing with the Cool School project in working package 2, related to biodiversity practices and transformation. So our main hypothesis is that an integrated approach to revegetation would encourage the presence of diversified fauna and flora, and would participate to reinforce the links between humans and wildlife. So to this, we focus on little beasts, as Nathalie explained. We use little beasts because it's not only insects that we are interested in and that are present in the schoolyards. The interest of a lot of our work and a lot of the database that we are using that are public have arthropods into it. So that's one of the main branch of live forms that we are studying. One of the components of our working package is to study biodiversity and connectivity inventories with two main hypotheses. The first one is that the biodiversity in schoolyards would vary based on the vegetation practices that are occurring into the schoolyard. So both in terms of surface covered, instead of maintenance, organization, distribution within the schoolyard, and the position of the schoolyard within the cities and within the other green areas. Another hypothesis is that the schoolyard serves as an habitat, as a relay, to host species who could move between different green areas. So to study this, we currently have Amandine Caron, who is an intern, she's here, who is an intern in Master 2, and she's doing flora and fauna inventories in Paris and Brussels, using different materials, so the umbrella, and other materials that I don't know the name in English, but she will show you tomorrow. This I pass. So we are both using inventories that we do ourselves, and also public databases that are available, and we are trying to combine all data, which is not always easy. Another component of the working package is to work on the perception of and knowledge of biodiversity. So through this, we want to see if the perception and the knowledge vary according to the degree of involvement of children and the people around them involved into the greening of the schoolyard. One part of this component is currently led by Anne-Laure Richet, another Master 2 student, who is working on the link between governance and greening. So with big questions such as what is the governance models in terms of biodiversity, what does it help to create, and how actors around the schoolyard are related to each other and impact the process. We have started to also try to advertise pedagogical activities within the schools that could be done to mobilize children, parents, teachers. For the moment, it's very difficult. It's the end of the year, so it's very difficult to mobilize teachers. So we are trying to use different strategies, such as those posters that we distribute and through the helps of the students in the school. And we're going to see if we're going to have lunch with the teachers and things like this to try to build connections. So to continue, our next step is to recruit likely 2 postdocs of 1 year. One who would start at the end of this year, who will work on spatial modelization of ecological continuities, and another one who will work more on the representation of and practices of biodiversity, likely starting early next year.
Just want to add a last word about that. I mean, we're working a lot about governance issues that was discussed in consortium. One reason for that is that we realize that it's because the link to biodiversity or to living beings being, you know, functional living beings is represented, you could say that. I mean, that people don't know how it works. And that's why, because they don't know how it works, that they just don't permit these plants, these green spaces, to have a good life somehow, to work. I mean, it's the link between representation practices and biodiversity is what we're trying to investigate and trying to confront materiality, biodiversity, and representation and ideology, you could say, and representation and practices. So it's very important for us because we're part of a laboratory of research in France, which is very much inscribed in this tradition of study to confront materiality and ideologies in order to see how you think you do something, but in fact you do the reverse. I mean, it's like you think you're greening these spaces, but in fact you're investing a lot of money just to make plants die. So, I mean, it's like, and how it can be changed. How this link in between materiality and representation in practice can be investigating and changed. And this is a very big challenge. Thank you.
Si teniu alguna pregunta... Ai, perdoneu. Alguna pregunta, gracias por la intervención. Si hay alguna pregunta, alguna que queréis lanzar, y si no, venga.
Hello. I would like to know if you include in your biodiversity little beasts, some other beasts which are absolutely not welcomed in the cities. You know who I'm talking about? The rats, mouses, birds that make caca in the all around.
So we do not include them currently. I think we both have projects on those animals within the city, research projects that are not part of Cool School. But in Cool School, we are not studying those animals within the frame of the project. We focus on small beasts because they can travel in between patches nearby the schoolyards and within the schoolyards. But we can't do everything, unfortunately.
No, I think it is an important issue because as in different cities, people are getting very angry against nature because of this little beast in non-desired beast in cities. But they have to understand that everything is connected. It's not, during the lockdown in Paris, some mayor of cities said that we should eradicate all nature in cities because it would bring other epidemics. And it's just a wrong representation of how nature functions. And there is a lot of things to do to educate people to understand how nature works. And that's what we're trying to investigate in this project. Mosquitoes are here because of climate, tiger mosquitoes are here because of climate change, and climate change is here because we had eradicate nature and such and such and such. So we have to understand that things are connected. And I did my PhD on cockroaches, so I know very much about non-desired beasts. And I had to study all kind of psychotic attitude towards different animals. And it's, as I would say, a total social fact, as we could say with Marcel Mauss, because through the beast you can get to social organization, political organization, and all kind of things. So it's more a prism than anything else.
To complete your question, we have chosen this group. We have chosen small beasts, small fauna, because their ecological is easy to associate with vegetation, and so it's a project that is common to the whole city.
In relation to biodiversity, I would like to ask if you also consider the appearance of the so-called bad plants or bad herbs, spontaneous plants that appears after a transformation in a place, because often they also support the appearance of insects, all these kind of small beasts.
So I'm not sure I heard everything, but your question is about, do we also focus on plants? Weeds. In the inventories that Amandine has been doing, and what the work that we have done in the past, to count the insect, we also count and describe the vegetation within the schoolyard. So everything that is green, we record, we put on a map, we do some census in the different location of the tree, and we record the species, etc. Because this has, of course, an importance with the animal species that we will find, and the diversity, and the amount of other form of life that we will have in the schoolyard.
Bueno, first of all, thanks to introduce the concept of landscape connectivity that I think is very important when we imagine a city that is more ecological and sustainable. And I like to ask if in Paris, when this project has been done, the study of landscape connectivity have been previous, and the project have changed in relation if they have lots of green spaces around and the kind of biodiversity that was present in these spaces, or if this question have not been considered when the projects have been done.
You're asking if the CTO has been linked to our project in order to change the connectivity of green spaces?
No, if the project have considered the connectivity prior to the project, and the maybe in castellano, Mamen, me ayudas a traducir, lo digo en castellano. O sea, mi pregunta es si los proyectos que se han hecho de renaturalización de los espacios han considerado la conectividad ecológica antes, ¿no?, de que el proyecto se haya hecho. Entonces, las especies que se han introducido se han adaptado, ¿no?, digamos, también a la conectividad, o si se ha estudiado a posteriori el beneficio, ¿no?, que el patio ha. Capisce la domanda?
So, Cédissia, you contradict me if I say wrong, but the schoolyard greening comes from the decision to which school would start first and be involved in the project came from the oldness of the concrete material. Not of the place of the school and the degree of vegetation within the school. It comes from, there is this schoolyard with a very old tarmac, we need to change it, and so this would be involved into the greening process.
Thank you.
What I can say more is that the list of the vegetation is a regional list, and, but we are not choosing the vegetation in relation with the corridor, ecological corridor. So we have to progress on these different topics, yes.
Yes, I found, this is new for me, I don't usually study animals or in environments. So I found your definition of biodiversity to be very interesting, where you said it was about the human, animal, and environment aspects. So I was wondering, to what extent do you integrate the human dimension in your study and your methodology, for example? Do you consider about, for example, the diversity of the human aspects, the people aspects, the social relations in the schools that you're studying or you're looking at? And if you know of any other research, for example, that might be doing that.
No, I mean, humans are not so biodiverse nowadays. I mean, look at us, we all look alike somehow. I mean, more and more through history and prehistory, we have just converged. I mean, physically, morphologically, genetically. So, I mean, we're not so diverse, but whatever. And yes, we relate that to the role of humans in biodiversity, obviously. I mean, that's why we're trying to see, for example, kids now are more playing with small insects in schoolyards when they have these insects and with other games, because it's much funnier to kill insects than to do whatever else. So yes, we're trying to see how cultures of nature, that's how we call them, play a role, and how we can transform these cultures of nature, meaning not crash down, not whatever. I mean, it's a long way to go, as you know all, because we're not going this way anyhow. But these schoolyards are spaces of education, but not only of collective education, I would say. Not only for children, but also for educators, for managers, for everybody. How do we learn to make a living space, you know, and what does it mean?
And also we, in the school that are involved in the project currently, we located them in different areas of Paris. We choose them in different areas, so we are also a different socio-demographic background and different accessibility to different green spaces. So this can represent diversity in human
and socio-demographic.
And socio-demographic, yeah. And maybe just to finish, we are only two here presenting, but there is a lot of people that are also involved in the project and who are not here, and they are very important.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah and Nathalie. Well, good. Well, you know, we are like 30 minutes late in the schedule, but no problem. We can solve. We could try. We could do something. We have now a break, but this break maybe we will do a short, really short. There is something of drink and eat over there, like yesterday. We are not going to do the break. We are going to straight to the market experience. But if everybody who wants to go to the catering can go and join the market, yeah? Sí, més o menys, vale? 5 minutos para agafar las cosas, vale? 5 minutos para coger lo que queráis de comer o beber. Sí, y vamos a hacer algo un poco diferente de ayer. Vamos a hacer 2 grupos en vez de 4, ¿vale? Tenemos 4 experiencias a explicar hoy, que es París, Bruselas, Rotterdam y países del este, ¿sí? Vamos a hacer, las personas que tenéis A, B, van a estar en un grupo conjunto con París y Bruselas, ¿verdad? Que están aquí, en este lado. París i Bruselas estan a aquest costat, A, B, i C, D se colocan en el lado de Serbia y Croacia. Sí, hay unos en el lado izquierdo, ¿sí? ¿Francesc o no? Sí, están Croacia y Rotterdam está allá. Croàcia i Rotterdam estan allà i... Vale? A, B, C, D y después cambiamos. We change. ¿Sí? Okay. You want to explain in English?
Yeah. Well, the proposals is that we organize 2 groups. A, people with badge A and B are discussing Paris and Brussels and Paris, Brussels and Paris AB, and Rotterdam and Serbia, they go in CD. Okay, yeah. And afterwards we'll swap.